Lucas had always dreamed of space. From the time he was a child, he would stare up at the stars and imagine what it would be like to travel to distant planets. He never thought his first real job in space would be so strange. The ship landed softly on the new space base, its engines humming gently as the doors slowly opened. Lucas stepped out and took his first look at his new home. He had been assigned to work on the base for 6 months as part of his engineering contract. The station was unlike anything he had seen before. Huge, sleek, and filled with blinking lights. Everything felt so advanced, even a bit overwhelming. The space station was located on a far-off planet, a place where humans and aliens lived and worked together. The thought of working with other species was exciting, but also a little scary. He had studied alien cultures in college, but it was different seeing them in person. As Lucas walked across the station's dock, he noticed the strange architecture of the building. It was beautiful in a way, but also unfamiliar. The walls were made of a smooth, silver-like material, unlike anything he had seen on Earth. There were alien symbols written across the walls that he couldn't understand, but he could tell they were important. The air smelled different too, clean but with a hint of something unknown. He walked into the main corridor, trying not to look too lost. A few humans passed by, some wearing blue jumpsuits like his own, while others were in different uniforms, their badges identifying them as scientists, medics, and engineers. Everyone seemed busy. Then he saw her, Cora. She stood tall, with shimmering silvery scales running down her neck and arms. Her face was angular, with sharp features that reminded him of an artwork from an ancient Earth civilization. Her eyes were a deep purple, and they glowed faintly in the dim light of the corridor. She was an alien, and the way she carried herself was both intimidating and graceful. "Are you Lucas?" Cora's voice came in his mind, soft but clear. It was telepathic communication, something he had read about but never experienced himself. He nodded, not sure if he should speak aloud or respond in his mind. "Yes, I am Lucas. You must be Cora," he replied, trying to sound confident. Cora gave a slight nod. She smiled, though it was subtle. "Welcome to the base. I'll be your partner during your stay." Lucas blinked. He had heard of alien-human partnerships before, but he hadn't expected his first day to involve one. "Partner?" he asked, feeling a little nervous. "Yes," Cora replied. "We'll be sharing the same living quarters and working together on several projects. I'm here to guide you through the tasks ahead." Lucas wasn't sure what to say. He had been prepared for work and the occasional meetings with aliens, but living with one, he had never imagined it. He wasn't sure if he should be excited or worried. As they walked down the hallway together, Cora began explaining the layout of the space base. She spoke calmly, but Lucas had a hard time keeping up with her pace. She was much more used to this environment than he was. The station was divided into several sectors, each dedicated to different areas of research, technology, and living. The living areas, where Lucas would stay, were located near the labs and workshops. He would be working on maintaining the base's machinery, ensuring everything ran smoothly. They reached a door that slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, there was a small but well-equipped room. A single bed stood against the far wall, and a large desk with a holographic screen filled most of the space. It was nothing like the rooms Lucas had in mind. It was efficient, but lacking in comfort. "This will be our room for the next 6 months," Cora said, setting down a small bag by the desk. "You can take the bed by the window. I don't sleep, but I'll be here if you need assistance." Lucas looked around, still unsure of how to feel. He couldn't help but notice the quiet. Everything here seemed so peaceful. And yet, there was a feeling of unease that hung in the air, as if he were in a dream he couldn't wake up from. "What do you mean you don't sleep?" Lucas asked, curiosity taking over. "I don't need sleep like you do," Cora replied simply. "My species absorbs energy from the environment, and rest isn't necessary for our well-being. But I can still experience moments of quiet, like meditation." Lucas nodded slowly. That was definitely new. He glanced at the bed again. It looked perfectly comfortable, but the idea of sharing such a small space with someone, especially an alien, felt odd. Before he could say anything, Cora continued. "There will be time for adjustments. We'll work on the machines tomorrow. For now, we must learn how to coexist. You'll find that my species communicates differently, and I will teach you what you need to know." Lucas felt a little better hearing that. He had always been good with technology, and at least they would be working on something familiar. He hoped he would adjust quickly. The idea of living with an alien, however, was still something he would need time to get used to. As the day passed, Cora showed him around the space base, introducing him to other workers, both human and alien. They all seemed busy, some giving Lucas curious glances as they went about their work. He couldn't help but feel like everyone was watching him. By evening, Lucas had seen most of the station, but it still felt like he was walking through a dream. The lights were different, the atmosphere was different, and the people were different. He felt like an outsider. Back in their room, Cora was already focused on her work, her eyes glowing slightly as she connected to the station's network. Lucas sat on the bed, his thoughts racing. He had always wanted to be part of something bigger, something beyond Earth, but now that he was here, the reality was much more overwhelming than he had imagined. Cora's voice broke through his thoughts. "You are thinking too much, Lucas. You will find your way here. I will help you." Lucas turned to face her. There was something calming in her voice, something that made him feel like maybe, just maybe, he could make this work. Maybe he could live with an alien and actually find a way to be part of this strange world. He took a deep breath and nodded. "Thanks, Cora. I think I'll be okay." The rest of the night was quiet. Lucas lay down, staring out the small window at the stars. This was only the beginning of his journey, but already he knew it would be unlike anything he had ever experienced before, and despite the fear and uncertainty, he couldn't help but feel a spark of excitement. The next few days at the space base were a blur of activity. Lucas found himself surrounded by advanced technology, strange alien designs, and constant learning. Every corner of the base held something new and unexpected. There were more alien species on the base than he had imagined, and many of them had abilities or ways of communicating that Lucas could barely begin to understand. Cora was always by his side, offering advice, guidance, and sometimes a quiet moment to reflect. She explained the workings of the base's systems in a way that Lucas could understand, even though they often had to bridge the gap between human and alien technology. The base's main power source was a fusion of both alien and human technology, and it required constant maintenance. Lucas found it challenging but exciting. The machines were beautiful, complex, and in need of care. One afternoon, Lucas and Cora worked together on a system that controlled the base's air filtration. It had been malfunctioning for a few days, and now it was up to them to fix it. The work was delicate, and the tools they had were unfamiliar to Lucas. He had no idea how these devices worked, but Cora seemed to handle them with ease. "What does this one do?" Lucas asked, holding up a small, glowing device that resembled a stone but hummed gently in his hand. "That's a converter," Cora said, her voice calm. "It transfers energy from the atmosphere into the base's power grid. Without it, we would lose life support in a matter of hours." Lucas nodded, trying to understand. It wasn't like any technology he'd worked on before. He had learned a lot in the past few days, but he felt like there was still so much more to grasp. "Here," Cora said, holding out a tool that looked like a metal rod with glowing lines running through it. "You place this here, and then it connects with the converter to stabilize the power flow." Lucas hesitated. "I'm not sure I can do it." Cora looked at him, her purple eyes studying him for a moment. "You can do it, Lucas. Just follow the steps. Trust yourself." He took a deep breath and nodded. As he carefully inserted the tool into the device, something unexpected happened. A jolt of energy surged through the rod and into his hands. The tool buzzed and vibrated, and for a moment Lucas thought it would explode. His heart raced, but Cora was quick to step in, placing her hand over his. "Focus," she said softly. "It's not the tool, it's your mind. Calm down. Let the energy flow through you." Lucas followed her advice, closing his eyes for a second. He focused on the steady beat of his own heart, and slowly, the buzzing in his hands became a steady hum. The energy calmed, and the device clicked into place. When he opened his eyes, the air filtration system lit up with a soft green glow, indicating it was working properly. "Well done," Cora said, her voice filled with approval. "You're learning quickly." Lucas couldn't help but smile. It felt good to have accomplished something, especially with Cora's help. Even though she was an alien, she had a way of making him feel capable. Her calm presence was something Lucas had come to rely on, though he still felt a little out of his element. The next day, they faced a new challenge. A major system in one of the base's research labs had broken down, and they were asked to repair it. This time it was far more complicated. Lucas and Cora stood in front of the massive, intricate machinery, with wires and circuits strewn everywhere. "This is way beyond anything I've seen before," Lucas said, feeling the familiar sting of self-doubt. The technology was beautiful but far more advanced than anything on Earth. He couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. Cora looked at him. "It's okay to be nervous, but remember, I'm here to guide you. You won't fail." Lucas wasn't sure if he believed her. The machine in front of them had too many parts that didn't make sense. There were no clear instructions or manuals to follow. Just when he thought things couldn't get more confusing, Cora moved to a part of the machine, touching a panel with one of her fingers. The entire machine hummed to life. "There," she said, looking over her shoulder at him. "This is how we begin. You must learn to listen to the machine, understand its language." Lucas watched her carefully. She was so calm, so sure of herself. It was almost as if she could communicate with the machine on a deeper level. But he didn't have her abilities. He was still learning. Cora's voice broke through his thoughts. "It's about connecting with the system. Don't try to control it. Let it guide you." Lucas reached out, placing his hands on the panel beside Cora's. He closed his eyes, trying to follow her advice. At first there was nothing, but as he focused, he felt something. It wasn't a voice, but a sense of direction, a subtle flow of energy that seemed to guide his hands. Slowly, Lucas began to adjust the circuits, following the silent instructions that the machine seemed to give him. The system flickered, then powered up, and the lab hummed back to life. "We did it," Lucas whispered, his heart racing with excitement. Cora turned to him with a soft smile. "I knew you could. You just needed to trust yourself." As they worked together over the next few days, Lucas grew more comfortable with Cora and the alien technology around him. There were still moments of uncertainty, but Cora was always there to guide him. She seemed to understand his fears without him saying a word. But it wasn't just the work that brought them closer. In the quiet moments between tasks, Lucas began to learn more about Cora. She told him about her home planet, about her species, and about the challenges she faced as an alien in a human-dominated space station. She shared memories of her childhood, of the vast deserts and endless skies of her world. "I never imagined I would live among humans," Cora said one evening as they sat together in the quiet of their room. "I was always told they were unpredictable and dangerous. But you are different, Lucas. You are more than I expected." Lucas looked at her, unsure of what to say. He had always been taught that aliens were foreign and dangerous. Yet in Cora, he found someone who understood him in ways no human ever could. She wasn't just an alien. She was a partner, a friend. "I'm still learning," Lucas admitted. "There's so much I don't understand, but I'm starting to feel like I can do this." Cora placed her hand on his. "You don't have to know everything, Lucas. You just have to be willing to learn. And you've already done more than I ever imagined." In that moment, Lucas realized something. This wasn't just about working with an alien. It was about breaking down barriers, both personal and cultural. He was learning to see the universe not as a place of strangers and differences, but as a place of shared experiences and possibilities. The days passed quickly, and soon Lucas had adjusted to life on the space base. His relationship with Cora had deepened beyond just work. They had become partners in every sense of the word. Cora was no longer just an alien living with him. She was his colleague, his mentor, and perhaps more than anything, his friend. They had learned to communicate not only through words, but also through actions, sharing silent understanding that transcended their differences. But as much as Lucas had grown, there was still one thing that kept him on edge, the constant reminder that he was human and Cora was not. The thought would creep into his mind every now and then, especially when they faced moments of tension or uncertainty. The line between their worlds, though blurred, was still there. One evening, Lucas found himself alone in the base's observation deck, looking out at the stars. The vastness of space never failed to make him feel small. He thought about how far he had come, how much he had learned, and how much more there was to discover. He felt a sense of wonder and excitement, but also a growing sense of doubt. He could hear Cora approaching before he saw her. She was always so quiet, as though she moved with the stars themselves. She joined him at the window, standing silently by his side, looking out at the endless expanse of space. "Is something troubling you?" Cora asked, her voice soft but clear in his mind. Lucas sighed. "I don't know. I feel like I'm still not fully part of this place, you know? I'm learning so much, but I still feel disconnected, different. Cora nodded, her purple eyes reflecting the starlight. I understand. You are the only human here, and that can be isolating. But remember, the difference you feel is not a weakness. It is an opportunity. Lucas turned to her, his brow furrowed. What do you mean? Cora's expression softened. You see the universe from a human perspective, Lucas. You have experiences, ideas, and emotions that no one else here can understand. And while that may seem like a barrier, it's actually a gift. You are showing us a side of life that we, as aliens, can never experience. Lucas was taken aback. You think I'm a gift? Cora smiled. Yes. Your humanity, your ability to feel and experience the world in ways we cannot, is a strength. It is something that makes you unique, something that has value here. You are part of this universe in a way that no alien can ever be, and that makes you important. Her words struck a chord deep within Lucas. He had always felt like the outsider, the one who didn't belong. But Cora was right. His humanity was something that no one else could replicate. It was what made him who he was, and perhaps it was exactly what the base needed. I never thought of it like that, Lucas said, his voice quiet. I guess I've always tried to fit in, to blend with everyone else. I never realized that being different could actually be a good thing. Cora placed a hand on his shoulder. It is not the differences that matter. It is what we choose to do with them. Just then, an alert sounded throughout the station. Lucas's heart skipped a beat. Something was wrong. Cora, what's happening? He asked, turning to her. It's the defense system, she said, her tone serious. The station is under attack. Before Lucas could respond, the floor beneath them shook. The lights flickered and a loud, ominous siren filled the air. Cora immediately began to move toward the exit, her calm demeanor unwavering. Lucas followed closely behind her. Where are we going? He asked, his mind racing. To the command center, Cora replied. We need to protect the base. Follow my lead. The two ran through the station's hallways, the flashing lights casting eerie shadows on the walls. The base was in chaos, with workers rushing to their stations and alarm bells blaring through the corridors. Lucas felt a sense of urgency he had never experienced before. When they reached the command center, Cora immediately began working on the control panels, her fingers moving quickly over the alien technology. Lucas stood by her side, trying to assist, but the systems were far beyond his understanding. Still, he knew he had to help. He could feel the pressure mounting, not only from the situation but from the responsibility of protecting everyone on the base. We need to act fast, Cora said, her voice calm but firm. The intruders are attacking the communication lines. We must restore them before we lose contact with the rest of the fleet. Lucas nodded, trying to focus. He reached for a nearby console, trying to work out how to help. He had no idea what he was doing, but he knew he had to try. The sounds of the attack grew louder, echoing through the station. His heart raced, but he took a deep breath and focused on the task ahead. As they worked together, Lucas realized how much Cora had taught him. The way she moved, the way she focused under pressure, it was all so different from how humans reacted in a crisis. But that didn't matter now. They were both here, working side by side, doing whatever it took to save the base. It didn't matter that they were different. Together they could do anything. Finally, after what felt like hours, the systems came back online. The lights flickered back to full strength, and the sirens gradually stopped. The communication lines were restored, and the station's defense systems began to function once more. We did it, Lucas breathed, wiping the sweat from his brow. He felt a sense of accomplishment, but also relief. They had saved the base, together. Cora turned to him, her eyes filled with pride. We did, she agreed. You did well, Lucas. I knew you could. Lucas smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. He had done it. He had helped save the station, and it was all because he had trusted in himself and in Cora. As they stood there, catching their breath, Lucas realized something important. He wasn't just living with an alien anymore. He was living with a partner, someone who had shown him that differences didn't separate them. Instead, those differences made them stronger. Together, they were capable of more than either of them could have done alone. And as the stars outside the station glowed softly in the distance, Lucas knew that this was just the beginning. There would be more challenges, more adventures, and more discoveries ahead. But no matter what happened, he would never face them alone.